But one of the things that time said is, until you don't do it, and it's not talking about me, it's talking about the system, okay? Until you don't repair time, I will keep you trapped in time and in a loop. And that loop is the magnetical field. So we are trapped in a magnetical field that doesn't allow us to move to different realities. We are constantly coming back to the center. And the beauty of that system, which is beautiful because it's love, it's the same system that actually is keeping us trapped. And that's the paradox of time and space. So it said, this is the game that you have created. So what is the new game? And that's what I've been told in South India and Sri Lanka. What is the new game you want to play? Because you have been playing this game all the time. And you have only one chance now, which is during the eclipse in Texas. So that's why from Sri Lanka I flew to Texas. And I sat down under the eclipse and I asked everyone there, what is the new game? And they all choose love. And the darkness said, told you so.
Matías De Stefano, welcome on Just Tap In, brother. What are you most excited about right now in your life?
Thank you for inviting me. What am I excited the most? Well, I think that because of the eclipse, what I'm excited the most is about this blank that is in front of me, that it's telling me that something great is coming, but I don't know what it is. So I think I'm excited to see what is there, what is beyond that shadow.
I love that. Let me ask you, what happens when you mix a solar eclipse, holy festival, equinox, Mercury retrograde, the Himalayas, India, and the world's largest gravitational portal all in 1 week? What happens?
Well, having a rising Capricorn and a moon in Leo, a moon in Sagittarius and a sun in Leo, wants to make you jump into another reality or kill yourself. So it was like too much intensity, and all the darkness that I didn't expect to face. It was like very, very deep and intense, not only with my own darkness, but with the darkness of the planet and the darkness of the subconscious that we all have created. And it's been terrible and amazing at the same time, because it's been like destroying myself to question what am I doing and who am I doing this for, and many other things. And all of that gave me the chance to rethink from where I'm doing what I'm doing, and the next moves that I have to give. So it was very, very intense, and it still is, because of course an eclipse is not just 1 day or a few hours. It's a process of a long time, and of course the moon eclipse during being in a place that destroys you, which is India, and preparing and talking to the very darkness surrounded by light in the middle of the Pearl of Asia in Sri Lanka. It was like too much to handle. I literally wanted to die like 2 or 3 times that week. So yeah, it was beautiful and terrible.
Wow. I mean, you were born in this life with a particular ability of remembering most of your past lives, if not all of them, for the last 12,000
Mm.
years. And when you ask most people what they're afraid of the most, they usually say, I'm afraid of death. But I don't think that is a subject with you.
No.
But you said that around this time you faced your biggest fear. What was that?
Uh, my biggest fear is the nonsense. Because because my life has not talking about just my life now, but as an existing being, has been about being a weaver. And being a weaver basically is um, to take things that makes no sense by separate, when they are like um, um, just spread around, and to put them together and to make a shape with it. So it's like give a sense, give a meaning for the five senses to have an idea of what this is. So the weavers of reality are basically entities that are connecting specific things with other things. So connectors. And when you take away all the different threads, and when when you just make everything disappear, suddenly there's nothing to give a meaning to. There's nothing to shape. There's nothing to weave, and and that's basically what I am scared the most. Um, Not having what to weave, not having a meaning
Mm.
on what you do. Yeah.
And I feel like that fear arises a little bit from when you were very young, where you were having all these memories, but not enough maybe consciousness or understanding to put them all together. When you're around 13 years old, an artist from Argentina, Raul
Mhm.
Bertolini, helped you put some of those memories back together. What was that experience like, and how did that begin to start weaving back together some order instead of
Yeah.
nonsense into your mind and
Yeah,
memories?
it's been before having 12 years old, I had all my memories mixed. Of course, I was a child, so I had no idea how to organize them. There was too much going on in my head and my energy field, and too many other beings that were trying to help me to understand what it was. Um, and there was so when I was 11, 12, I was struggling a lot with it, and a friend of a friend, not mine, a friend of my mom, got got me a psychologist that would help me. And that psychologist, I started to explain her about what I was going on, and she said, "You know what? All these books that are in my wall, that she had like many massive amounts of books there in the shelves, and she said, as you were talking, you answered to me things that I couldn't understand in all these books. Like it made sense now, and I don't think you have a psychological problem. You need to talk with this person." So she introduced me to Raul, who was an old professor in the university of in the technical university in my hometown, and he started to make regressions on me and do questions, and he would like in silence take notes about everything and record in cassettes everything that I would say when I was 12. So he would like tell me, "What do you know about this?" And I started to explain it, and he took notes and didn't say anything. So he was like studying me, but uh, with in those 2 years for me was like um, what for me it's imagination, for him makes sense. Like for them is making sense, and some of the things that maybe I know, it doesn't make sense for me, but it makes sense for others. So that's why that's why I learn not to think much about what I say, because sometimes what I if I put my intention for it to be what I want, is not really worth for the people that is asking the question. um, so because of that, I started to learn how to put my mind in blank, so I don't think much about my memories, and I just explain what it comes through me, uh, because of, yeah, those people that when I was 12 years old, they were helping me through questions, to know that whatever I was explaining that has no meaning for me, it had meaning for them. And yeah, uh, so he helped me with that. And he was an artist and a sculptor in my city, but also he teached he used to teach um, like electricity and these kind of things in the uh, technical things in the university. But at home, he was an artist, and trying to understand the universe and the UFO and all these kind of things. So
He was this mystic behind closed
oh
doors.
yes, yes. He was like the teacher at the teacher at school, but then in the back of the house, he had this huge library with so many weird books all around, and all this clay, and making sculptures, and it looked like when I went to his house, it looked like if I was in a Greek, in a Greek agora, or a Greek school, with these philosophers that were in silence studying about things, and it was really really cool. Yeah, and he helped me out.
Yeah, a lot of people, amazing. A lot of people will say that, like, oh, I have my day job, but then I have these like very mystical occult interests. But when people ask you what's your day job, you say I'm a portal. And that got me thinking, because you just said that we live through one of the most powerful gravitational portals maybe in history. So what was your role in all of that just happened very recently, what we just lived through?
Well, a portal, we are all portals, and we have portals all over our bodies. A portal is basically uh, a middle point through where something that is on one side can cross to the other side. So every chakra is a portal. Every joint in your body is a portal. Your eyes are portals. Your mouth is portal. Your nose is portal. Your ears. So every sense is a portal. So we forget that we are portals for everything, and we are channeling constantly information. We are channeling others constantly. When we act as we think, we act because we want to, or we are that, but actually we are channeling all the time the culture, the language, the way of moving, the way of acting. It's all about culture. What have we learned from our parents, from our friends? So we act in a different way depending on the group of people we are with, or the topic we are talking, or even the language that we are speaking. We can change. So that's channeling too. It's not just about having a weird spirit within you and speaking weird stuff. We are natural channelers because we are magnetical and electrical beings. So we have positive, negative. So we are all the time channeling. So the thing is that when you become aware of what is a portal, you can become a whole portal yourself for many other informations that is not just the cultural structures or the beliefs, or any tools that you have in your daily life, but also for a bigger field of information that is in the quantum realm or in another dimension, that keeps all information from past, from future, of other ways of receiving information, or processing information of the universe. So suddenly, what is to be a portal is that a portal should not have a specific belief. A portal should not have a specific way of thinking. It should be open to anything that is happening there, and anything that happens around can be understood if you open yourself for that. But if you, for example, say, I am a light worker, suddenly you reject what is in the other side, which is darkness. And so you don't allow the information of darkness to come through, which means that you have a perception of what darkness is, and then you have structures that hold you in a specific system, which means that you are not going to be neutral, or you're not going to be connected to the everything, because in order to connect to the everything or the unity, you need all the faces together. So for example, in this portal, it was a lot of darkness, but in order to understand why that darkness was there and why that darkness is trapping us, I had to allow myself to be channeled by darkness. I needed to accept that darkness around and within me in order to understand the plan, to understand what is happening here. And so, and for a lot of people that has a specific structure in their minds, that we divide like against each other, or there is a plan for we have to go against the darkness or against the light, and you create enemies all the time, or polarity. So my portal job could be not very well understood, because a lot of people say, oh, this person is working for the darkness, or he doesn't know what he's opening for anything to enter this reality. But actually I do know. I really resound, and I don't allow anything that is not coherent to go through me. But of course, I cannot be close to anything if I want to understand the everything and give tools to people to understand the whole and not just one side of it. So that's a portal, not being one side, but be in the middle to understand both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Blue has a saying that, sometimes you have to become what is needed in that moment. And there were moments in our trip together recently in Egypt where you became whatever was needed in that environment, whatever being, whatever frequency was needed, even through your voice, even through just the actions that you would take in connecting people. So now that, we were a couple weeks out of this portal that opened with a lot of darkness coming in, and you became that darkness, have you had time to integrate and reflect what is that divine plan that is unfolding? Because something big just happened around time space, if you want to break that down as well.
Yes. At the beginning of things, in the origin of all things, everything was one, and it's difficult to make a difference between time and space. And space was not interpreted as a trinity, and time was not interpreted as trinity. It was like a whole infinite thing of mixing things, until something happened that broke this and separated in two. It was like duality, and this creation of duality created these two different types of trinity that were against each other but complemented each other, which is time and space. So space divided in its own trinity called depth, height, and width, and the other, and so time divided also in this same trinity, which is past, future, and present. So but actually it's not real. It's just a perception of this duality that created this Merkaba of time and space. So this Merkaba allowed the being, which is in the center, to be expressed and experienced. So, okay, I can move now because I have depth, and I can move through time. So I can build past. And then I can find myself in the height. So I can connect with future, which is all my possibilities. And of course, I can connect with those who are reflections of me around, which is wide, and that's present. So the whole time and space started to be like a way for everything to be expressed at the same moment in different times and spaces. The thing was that many things happened in many different times of history, but they are all connected to one same fact, which is when time was broken. And time time is this field that holds everything, that makes space to exist. It gives meaning, sense to space. There is no space.
That's the Matrix.
That's the Matrix. Yeah, exactly. Matrix is time. And so for a long time, every time that I was like connecting with information from different timelines and trying to open a portal, do something for, I don't know, the Earth, there was always this deep voice that came from out of nowhere that said, "You broke time." And it was like,
you were saying that in the King's Chamber, brother. I don't know if you remember.
I don't
that,
remember.
I was beside you.
Oh, yeah.
You were saying that, and you were also saying tick tock.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. It said, "You broke time." And so the whole story is a very long story, but to summarize it, all that I have been doing this past 2 years was trying to understand what it meant exactly that time was broken. And finally, well, one of the things, what that story took me to the elephant, and they said, "Follow the elephant. The elephant will tell you where it was broken." And I was like, okay, I don't understand exactly what it means, this, but the elephant will tell you. So I started to check on all the stories of the elephants, and there is something that is very crazy, which is like 2,000 years ago, some elephants that were born in Sri Lanka, which is the deepest gravitational point of the planet, were sold to Egypt. They were bred in Egypt, and the babies of those elephants were sold to Morocco, which didn't exist at that time. It was another region. So they were sold to that territory, and were bought by the king of Carthago, which was Hannibal, in Spain. So he took the elephants and he said, "I want to conquer Rome." So he said, "But I want to like make them afraid of me." So he took 36 elephants from Spain, which were from Sri Lanka actually, and crossed the Alps between France, Switzerland, and Italy, and they all died there. Okay. The last one on dying was a white elephant called Sirius. And yeah, weird. And and all of this related to the Holy Cow. So it's India and Sri Lanka. So the Holy Cow, which is the mother of the creation of space, the creation, Hathor and all the story. So the temple, the biggest temple to the Holy Cow in Europe is a place called the Taurus, which is the bull. Okay. Today known as Torino in Italy. So it was a place where they built this temple for to honor Serapis Bey, which was the Apis, the bull. So that's why it's still called Toro, which is bull. And it's right there where the elephant died. And so the two things took me to a specific place, which is Switzerland, where the CERN is, which is the Hadron Collider. And this Hadron Collider is the one that is breaking particles all the time to figure out what happened in the origin of things. So there was one moment that a scientist called Higgs,
Peter Higgs,
he
the boy,
he thought about an idea in a mountain that I received this message for the first time, which was in Scotland. It's in the Cairngorms, and it's in the center of Scotland. And he went to walk to that mountain, and he received this message. Like, of course, he received this message is, oh, an idea. I got an idea. I got this idea that maybe there's a particle holding everything, but we cannot see it. So he built all his path since that moment to try, from the 60s, to try to figure out if that is real or not. And they figured that out on July the 4th, 2012. They discovered the Higgs field, and they did that by doing many experiments in the past, breaking particles. So that voice was saying, you broke me, you broke time. And it was like, oh, it's the particles that were broken. So when you break time, you go to the origin. And that's what they were doing. They were creating a wave, because as they broke Higgs, and they found Higgs, they created a wave. It's like if you throw a stone in the middle of a very calm lake that is holding everything, and suddenly you create a ripple of water. So imagine that in time. So it creates ripples in time that went back to the very origin of all things to break this reality. So it's a paradox of time space, that something that happened in 1986 could have given the tools to Atlantis to do the same and to break that into the future in Orion. And through what is happening in Orion, it went to the center of the galaxy, which is Hathor, which is the cow, the holy cow, and break time. So it's a ripple in different timelines of just breaking a particle in order to see what is there. And they said repair time. So the story of repair time is basically like put the mind and the heart together, which is the electrical and the magnetical. Put them together, time and space. So bring them back together. But one of the things that time said is, until you don't do it, and it's not talking about me, it's talking about the system, okay? Until you don't repair time, I will keep you trapped in time. And and in a loop. And that loop is the magnetical field. So we are trapped in a magnetical field that doesn't allow us to move to different realities. We are constantly coming back to the center. And the beauty of that system, which is beautiful because it's love, it's the same system that actually is keeping us trapped. And that's the paradox of time space. So it said, this is the game that you have created. So what is the new game? And that's what I've been told in South India and Sri Lanka. What is the new game you want to play? Because you have been playing this game all the time. And you have only one chance now, which is during the eclipse in Texas. So that's why from Sri Lanka I flew to Texas. And I sat down under the eclipse and I asked everyone there, what is the new game? And they all choose love. And the darkness said, "Told you so." And so it's like uh, the only one that didn't choose love was Buddha, and all the Buddhists love Buddha, and they are trapped again. So he said, Buddha is the only one that got out of the system because he didn't choose love. He chose another thing, which is a pure love that people cannot understand because they are mammals. And that was the he said that's the hidden game, and you're still playing the game. So
where do we even go with that?
Yeah. So that day, that day
I
of the
guess
eclipse, I I was seeing through the eyes of that darkness, observing people how they would react during the process, and he would like tell me, "Look, this person is doing this because this is a ripple of this and this and that." He would explain me all these things, and he said, "But I found the crack, and now I will take the one that broke time. I will take him with me." And he said, "Jackmate." And when he said "Jackmate," in that moment, Peter Higgs died.
Yeah.
It was like, what? So, died in Scotland. And he said during the ceremony, people there were present. They heard about it. He said, "You have 2 hours. You have 2 hours to decide what to do with the new game. What is the new game?" And this game started in Scotland, he said. This game started in Scotland and will end in New Scotland. And the eclipse ended in New Scotland, in Canada, Nova Scotia. So it was like a perfect game closure for a cycle. And he said, "Well, I guess people choose to keep playing this game. So I will, so you broke my heart. So I will keep breaking my heart until you figure out." And the heart of the snake is Iran, which is symbolic what happened last week. So it's like breaking the heart of every system until we figure out another way. And he said, see you next time that I align with you, which is April 2029. And so yeah, let's wait.
We'll see where we're at then. But wow, I mean, there's so many dots that are connecting right now. And do you see that, with the advent of this Higgs-Boson particle that we found, how did it change the way that we viewed this material world that we're in right now? And will this change now that the darkness, or whatever that energy is that took Peter Higgs, what is going to happen there?
He said that darkness is actually the giver of life, is the designer of the tree of life. And the reason is because light is radiation. Light is pure radiation from the stars. So it's so darkness is basically creating layers to protect us from the light. So it's like a mother that is overprotecting you. So when you try to go and run under the radiation of the light, the mother says, "No, don't do that, because that can kill you, or that can end your existence." So they said, "I just try to protect like a mother would do." That's why it's matrix. Matrix means mother or womb. So it's like the mother side of this reality that is protecting. So is the one that holds everything together. So the network of Higgs is basically something that is holding every particle in order for them to be an atom. So when you break that, you are breaking the structure of what reality is. And suddenly you figure out that reality doesn't actually exist. It's just a perception on how the Higgs structure or the matrix is holding everything together. So the matrix will always accommodate itself according to how we perceive this reality. But if you break that reality, so it will try to survive by keeping you trapped more and more. So I think that one of the things that we have to start seeing now, it's the hidden game, which is the invisible aspect of this. And it's something that the CERN is now investigating again, which is the invisible particle, the things that we cannot see that is holding all the universe together. So that's what he said, the invisible particle, the hidden game. There's a whole other game that you are not seeing, and because you're following just the magnetical aspect of it, you will always follow love as an answer. But there is a whole other reality there that is not based in magnetical fields. So the hidden game. And the reason why we are talking about this today, with all this discovery of the matrix and everything, is basically because we broke something. So we are starting to be responsible of something that is beyond our own existence. And the crazy thing about this is that that because it's in a quantum level, there are different particles within all of us that are going to be awakened in people that maybe don't have the tools to actually solve this. Like, for example, me, I don't have the tools to solve this. I just have the story. So maybe telling this story, someone awakes their particle that tells the particle of another person, and so on, until we all together can put together what is there to be repaired. But spoiler alert, the movie Matrix ends up again being all about love and about a couple that can change everything just because they love each other. And that's when the darkness said, you see, they choose the same game. So I don't know what is the other game, but apparently if they say the new game is about becoming invisible to the game, like Buddha, I think it's related to the inner wisdom that that is encoding love. Like love is the answer for all the magnetical the magnetical structures of the universe. Wisdom is the answer for all the electrical ones. So will is the third one. So I don't know, action, inaction, like the Bhagavad Gita would say. So it's a discovery to make. I don't know.
Would you say that, in the divine plan, were humans not supposed to find this particle that we talked about?
Basically the system is saying we were not ready to do that, in the same way as we discover fire. Like, we have given fire and we have used fire, and we didn't know exactly how to use the fire. So for one side of the universe, it's perfect because it's the process of learning. Okay, figure that out. Commit mistakes. To commit an error, a mistake, is natural in the process of learning. So that aspect of the universe is thinking that. There's another aspect of the universe that say they are not ready. They were not ready to do that. And actually, if you go to CERN and you try to, you go to the museum of CERN and you say, what is time? There's a video of the scientist saying, we have no idea what is happening. We have no idea what we are trying to figure out. We are just breaking stuff to see what is there. It's like if you are like you want to see how it's a chick, and so you break the egg to see if the chick is there. So basically, you kill the chick. You know. So in the process of doing that, apparently we pissed off the rooster. So, yeah.
And you said that 27,000 years ago there were different races from other planets that decided to seed civilization here on Earth in order to accelerate the planet's evolution. And when we entered this galactic darkness, or the galactic, you call it the winter, these beings, these races decided to leave. What is their role in reintroducing themselves back into human civilization? Because we're starting to see so much everywhere of this talk about extraterrestrials, and people are even making contact with their own mind. Where do you see that in this whole role of repairing time?
They're coming back, of course, slowly, because they know that we are not prepared for that. Most of the species that are aware in the galaxy, in the system, they know that we all work like a symphony, like an orchestra. So each one of us, not individuals, but planets, we are like instruments in this orchestra. And ours is practicing how to play it. So we are still practicing, so we cannot be part of the symphony. Not yet. We have to practice. So every certain cycles, every planet has to practice. One of the things that happen with many of those planets is that the conflicts that they are having, it's in the future, not in the past or the present. Meaning that when we perceive other civilizations around, sometimes we believe that they are in the present and they travel in spaceships through space, but actually they are not. They are traveling through time. So when they connect with us, they are our future generations talking to the past. So for many species, we are the very, very old ancestors of them. And whatever conflict they are having now, talking to us is trying to do a family constellation or a biodecodification of their conflict. So whatever is happening here, we are fixing it for the future, for them. So that's why we are receiving messages of them and receiving tools from them. And every species has its own purpose on how to connect with us. So some of them wants for us to be their source of energy. Some of them wants for us to be their wise grandfathers and mothers. So yeah, it all depends on what is their species, but they're coming back to try to help us transcend our own conflicts, because it's theirs in the future.
And even like for you, when you start remembering these past lives, and even from things like Atlantis, tens of thousands of years ago, what were some of the conflicts that you witnessed or observed in those civilizations that we are also helping them repair, or we're also getting information from that civilization that we can use now as wisdom to do it a different way?
When we try to go back now, remembering Atlantis, Lemuria, and all the civilizations, we are asking for advice on how to do it, because they did it for a long time, and we are trying to repair their conflicts, of course. Like, for example, the Atlantis conflict was trying to control the colonies, and we have tried to do that all the time. Now we are trying to do it with AI controlling, I don't know, media. Um, so um, the previous civilizations that are a reflection of ours today, they can give us some tools on how can we repair our problems today. And one of the main keys that they had to solve most of their problems was frequency. And we are not using the sound, the technology of sound, as a way of repairing the system. So I think that we can learn from that a lot, from the past, how they use the word technology of the language, technology of sound, in order to heal many things here today. So that's why we are all remembering that time, because we need clues from the past in order to heal what is happening today. Even if they were destroyed, one of the reasons that they were destroyed, because this question comes up a lot, like, if they were so clever, so what if they had all the knowledge of everything, why they perish, why they disappear? And that's because they, even if they had all this knowledge, there's always people in the system that don't want to change. And when time it's over, when there's a specific time that it's over, there's people that at noon they want to keep sleeping, and other people that is cooking. So of course there's always these two kind of people. So in Atlantis there were also these kind of people that were still sleeping, and they didn't want to accept that it was time to prepare the meal or something. you know so uh, so I think that one of the main important things that we have to understand for us today is that when the cycle is over, you cannot pull, you have to transform, you have to adapt to what is coming. Otherwise you can destroy the whole civilization.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd love to go deeper into that, of the way that these civilizations use frequency, because you described yourself as the weaver, and I got to witness a little bit of that in the King's Chamber, where you were in this state of consciousness where you were seeing these like patterns or geometry that would connect people, and you could access the frequency of each individual person, and you were like bringing pieces together. What exactly were you doing that? And was that something that you remembered from other past lives?
It's something that I kind of remember, but in that moment I am in this state of not thinking, just feeling. So it's easier to tune in to that. Basically, what I was doing there was to feel which connections and frequencies were expanding from each one of the bodies and resounding with the information of the others. So basically, it's like kind of feeling, not seeing, but feeling um, which organs were in tune to one another, and how the patterns of vibration created shapes or structures that I needed to use. Or, like, for example, there were some people that were doors and some people that were keys. So I needed to find in frequency that key in order to bring it to the door and open it. It was kind of like that. Um, so and it was all about tuning. So that's why I was using the sound, the words, and when people started to sing, I could find it better. So that's why it's much better when someone is like at least humming, because it makes all the body vibrate, so you can access easily. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
The sound that you talked about, being in these sacred structures, what is the role of us using our voice, us using the sound to be able to activate different things? Because while we were in there, you could feel how powerful the room got
Mhm.
once everyone was singing. And I didn't quite know what was going on, but it just felt very different from anything that I felt before. So I'd love, even just like on a selfish note, for you to unpack actually what happens during those moments when we use our voice.
Well, of course, that when you do that inside of a pyramid is much more powerful than doing it at home. And basically, because the pyramids and these kind of temples were built with that purpose, were built with a specific geometry that helps you receive the exact uh, echo of your own frequency, so you can tune into the entire planet. So the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, when you sing inside there, you can tune to the core of the planet and the notes of the whole planet, because the mathematics, the precession, the how it was built, the material, it all amplifies the sound. So that's why it's so much powerful than just actually doing it in a studio or at home or in a forest. But what you do is that in that moment when you start to resound with the others inside a machine like a pyramid, you can recognize that you stop being you and you become a wave. So you stop being a particle and become a wave. And when you become a wave, the sensation, the feelings of how you receive things is completely different from being a particle. From being a particle, you just become like a point of reflection of things, like you are reflecting things. But when you are a wave, you are moving with everything. So you can sense the whole, you can sense the everything. That's why the technology of sound allows you to expand much more, because you can vibrate in the same tune with a particle that is within your body, and at the same moment with a particle that is in the other side of the galaxy, just because of resonance, which a particle cannot do, but a wave can. So that's why it's so powerful when you get into that state.
Yeah. And it's not just any sound, right? Because I could turn on the radio or scroll through Spotify and listen to any music and it won't have that same effect.
Now, it has to be,
What sounds are we talking about?
it has to be the universe is mind, so you have to make your mind vibrate. And in order to make your mind vibrate, you need to have at least these two glands, the pineal and the hypophysis, both of them vibrating at the same time with the specific tune. So for that, you need your nose. Your nose is the one that makes your skull vibrate. When the skull vibrates, it's like making a humming under a cupola of a temple. So the skull vibrates, and that makes the frequency vibrates to the brain. Just a moment. The battery is going.
No worries. No worries.
So so the skull becomes like a temple. So when you make the sound with your nose and you make it vibrate on the top of the pail, it starts to resound inside your skull. But it's not any sound. You have to tune and find the right sound for yourself first, and then what is the sound of the place you're at, because it's not the same sound for everything. For example, in the Great Pyramid of Giza, you have to make a very low, but you have to find it with your nose. And there's a moment when you find it, when you found it, is the feeling is that there's no difference between the space and your body. And in that moment, it's like if your body doesn't exist. You are levitating, or you are just expanded everywhere, and it could be just a few seconds. So we have to practice to go into that tune in order to find it. But another place or another pyramid might have a completely different tuning. So we have to find exactly what is that tune. But first, you have to find your own, because your own with the one from the outside is the one that creates the music. So in that music is how you connect with the place and with yourself in order to find the third note, which is there when you create the chord. The third note is the information that is coming from another reality or another dimension, that comes to you in order to form the Holy Trinity that unwraps the package, which is my frequency with the frequency of the place I am at, and the frequency that is coming to me because we are resounding. So we have these two resounding, positive and negative, one outside, one within, and then the other one that comes is the one that materializes the information. And I will know it because suddenly it will come crossing me. Like suddenly I'm doing, and suddenly it comes, like it transforms what I'm saying because it goes through me, and I start to feel coherence. And the coherence is basically when you feel the three align. So there is something that you feel, this is right, I understand it, but you cannot think about it. But there is a coherence, something that is unwrapping, an information that is unfolding inside of you. So so that's how you do it. The first, you have to find with your sound of the mouth and the nose, mainly the nose, how to make resound hypophysis and pineal gland, because the pineal is the one that perceives the light, so is the one that receives information, and the hypophysis is the distributor of that information in all the endocrine system. So all the hormones will share that information through the blood to all the other cells in every organ. So your body will start to be aligned with what is happening. So that's why this sound, making the skull vibrate, makes a difference. More than the mouth.
I'd love to hear the story of how you found your own soul note, or that Matias vibration, or your soul's vibration in this life. How did you find that?
Well, as I said, there are many different notes for each one of us, because we have to find according to in which state of our lives we are. It is changing according to how we are changing too. So there have been many moments, but inside the Great Pyramid, there was this moment inside the sarcophagus. I was alone, and suddenly, trying to feel myself, I tune in with the place, and suddenly the air and the stone became like liquid, and I found I was like just liquid. That was inside the Great Pyramid in 2020, and all I could see was this this eye in the center, and everything unwrapping, and suddenly it was all light, and I was just playing with the sound until I found it, and I saw the entire net, and I could feel the water around me, and I was not a body, I was just one eye that was staring everything around, and it was just for a few seconds. So, and
where'd you go?
I went basically to who I am really. Like I accessed who gone my higher self is. So it was like a reconnection with that. And the first time that I had that was when I was 15, I think. I was living in a small town in Catalonia, and and as I was laying down in bed, I started to hum, and then this humming changed. It was different from whatever was outside, and I stopped feeling the air. I stopped feeling the bed. I stopped feeling everything, and I could see how the roof started to bend towards me, and it became an eye, and this eye started to come towards me, and when the pupil of the eye touched my third eye, that was the moment I remember the dimensions and the universe. And yeah, so it was just because I was humming and I couldn't stop humming a specific note that made me feel that there was nothing around me. Yeah.
And you did this all intuitively, or did someone guide you into that humming
No,
noise?
I was just doing it intuitively according to some memories that I had when I was doing that in another moment. But I just remember that day I was feeling alone, like alone from everything, disconnected from everything, and I needed to connect myself to who I was, and that was the day that I remember most of the things that I explained today. Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about Gan, your higher self. I imagine when you first made that connection, the connection became more established, and you could connect with Gan more often. What has your experience been like connecting with that higher aspect of you, and what can people expect when they begin to do the same?
When I first connected to what I was dreaming. I was 12 years old or 13, and 13 I think, and in that I remember that I woke up like at 5 a.m. like this, like not scared but excited and shocked, and I said gung, and 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 I said that's who I am, that's me, and I remember that in that moment I was like dreaming. I was like floating around, and I was like just one eye with the spiral around, and and I remember a feather like moving around this wind of the eye, and in that feather I was writing everything that I was seeing, and and I remember myself. And of course, gun is the easiest way to pronounce it because actually it's a frequency. It's like it's like that, but for friends it's gun. It's so
Call me Gun, not Gun.
yeah, it could be a little bit more complicated to be called like that all the time. Never endless, endless name, you know. But the frequency of that name remind me that everything that has the sound, that sound, it's those who see, something like that, or those who have the power to see the different aspects. So that's why I saw the eye, and I observed. I could see that there are thousands and billions of beings like me all over the universe, like observing and weaving and doing that, and I was just one of them. And when you connect with your higher self, you start to recognize in some way, even if it's difficult sometimes, that you, like me, Matias, I am a tool of the real me. It's not me with someone else. It's not that I am connected to someone that is a spirit that makes me be, but actually I am the design uh, one of the designs, one of the million designs that only being is projecting for it to exist right now, for it to be able to transmit, to speak. So I could tell that um, from the point of view of humans, that we are so bounded to this story of escaping the ones that manipulate our reality or our life, like escaping from a king, escaping from a system, escaping from the matrix. So we are constantly looking for the free will. Sometimes when we think about ourselves like a projection or a tool of someone that is in another reality, we tend to believe that there's someone that is controlling our lives. And it kind of feels like that when you realize that even if you take a decision, it won't happen unless your higher self is agreeing with it. And everything happens better when you just let yourself flow according to your higher self. So why is that? Why I'm not free, or I don't have a free will unless my higher self is present? Well, basically it's because your higher self is the actual you. So is the actual being. We are just a projection of that actual being. We don't exist. Our reality is just an observation. So we don't actually exist. We are just the perception of a higher self that is expressing through us, and we are the tools of it. So when you make a peace with that, suddenly what happens is that everything moves easily, because you are not it's like you are a hammer in this reality, and because you are not allowing the higher self to use you correctly, you're just hitting yourself against the wall, you know. So because your nature is to hit something. So you, if you just follow your nature without being correctly used, so you're gonna make a mess around, because a nail can kill someone, a knife, a hammer can destroy something if it doesn't have a purpose of why it was created. So that's why a human is just a tool of the real you. And so that's why when you start to connect with the higher self, one of the things that we have to pay attention to is that when the ego is in the middle, when you try to control things like I do every day,
We all do.
yeah, when you try to control things every day, things get difficult, because the design of reality, it's beyond our comprehension, because we are just the tools of the higher self that has designed this reality. So there are so many things that we cannot perceive that are part of ourselves, like other people, things that are around in the world, places in the planet that are part of ourselves and we don't know, and they will only unwrap when we stop controlling them and just move through them. So yeah, I think that when we start to connect with the higher self, just recognize that you are actually connecting with your higher self if things move easily and flow very much. If they don't flow and it brings us conflict, is because it's not the higher self. It's just part of the ego or another entity that is trying to take over. Yeah.
Is there something bigger than our higher self?
Yeah. The one that people used to call God. But the one is all the higher selves together. It's like having the sun with all the rays of light. Like imagine every photon that comes from the sun is like a spirit, is like a higher self. So it's a lot. There are many, but they all are part of the radiation of a sun. So it doesn't matter where they go, they came from a source, which was the sun, a star. So the one is very powerful, and then after the one you have the void, which is even more. Yeah.
It goes deeper than that. What's the void?
It goes deeper. Yeah. What is the God that created God? Yeah, only God knows.
Yeah. Have you experienced the void directly?
Yeah, I had, and it's so different from the being that created me, that's why I felt this terrible feeling of no meaning, no sense, because in that other realm, in that bigger reality, everything that we have built as a meaning, a sense, a purpose doesn't exist. So, but it's not our universe to work with. It's just a reminder. I think that the edge. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I wrote a short story about two beings that dared to go to the edge of something that I call the walls of the universe. And actually, the walls of the universe is the beginning of the void. It's like if instead of having a black hole in the center surrounded by all the gravity of this light, it's the other way around. Like you have the void around holding a sphere of light. And so, which is actually the same for the point of view of another dimension, is like the walls of the entire universe are black holes. So when you go to the edge of one of them, you stop being in this matrix. You disappear from this matrix. So whatever you are not anymore. Whatever purpose you had, there's not anymore. And so the edge or the walls of the universe teach you something very important, which is we are all here in this reality destined to live according to the structures that have been created in this reality, in this universe, with its 9 dimensions. And when you go beyond that into a black hole or to the walls of the universe, you stop being part of that system, which means that there is only one option: becoming a new one. And so the good thing about going to the entire void is that the only option you have there is to create your own. So you become the creator. And that's why it's so terrible. It feels terrible, but at the same time it's so expansive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm making a lot of connections right now because I'm a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and in his meditations, it's all about reaching exactly that, is the unknown, reaching that void space. And that's when people are trying to overcome themselves, when people are trying to change their current reality, only in that void can you have a paintbrush and create something else. Is this similar? Like when we're following the laws of like as above, so below, when we ourselves reach a state of the void, that is the only way we can create a new reality for ourselves? Or how do you see that?
Yeah, that's completely it. You cannot create something new or start a new path or a new reality with the burden, with the story, with the karma, whatever you want to call it, of everything that you have done before, or all the conditionings that you have from your previous previous existence or previous beliefs. From there, you cannot create anything. From there, you can only repeat. You are in a loop. You are constantly doing the same thing. But if you get out of it in order to create something new, and you say, I want to create something completely new for me, so in that moment, what happens is that the whole universe will start to show you the void. And you will go through the crisis of breaking everything that you believed in until you destroy yourself. And when you, and that's why we relate the void with something horrible. That's why we relate the void with something that we don't want to face, because it means that in order to arrive there, we have to destroy everything that we believed in, everything that we love, everything that makes us feel safe, everything that we have been creating for our own survival and existence is worthless when you try to go to the void in order to become the creator of your own reality. You cannot become the creator of your own reality unless you destroy the reality that have been created for you. So for that, it requires to let go everything. And that's why when we have to reach that point, we usually leave crisis, accidents, conflicts, separations, and we start to believe, what is happening? Why the universe is giving this to me? If I am good, if I am doing the right things, why everything is being destroyed around me? And basically because the universe is giving you the biggest gift that you could have, which is destroy everything in order to create. But we don't see it that way because we are mammals and we are used to be safe in herds.
Would you say that humanity now as a collective is going to be facing that void?
Yeah, we are facing a third world war, and we're also facing an option of being destroyed by an asteroid in a few years. So I think we have to start thinking about that void. We have to start thinking about what could happen, because in the next decade, in the next 2-3 decades, we are going to face things that will make us possibly think that everything could finish, everything that we have could end. So if we try to hold on tight to our previous ideas of what is safety, we will suffer it. But if we start to think, wait a moment, maybe this is the best option and chance that we have in order to create something completely new that we have never lived before, like the hidden game, as we were talking, is hidden because we don't allow ourselves to see it, because we are so in love with the other system, with the previous one created, that we don't see another option. So that's why we are trying. There are so many people making the question, what could be better? There are so many people trying to escape the matrix. There are so many people trying to change the game. So many people trying to believe in something different, that all of that is creating a new reality here. So in the subconscious is creating the option for that to happen. And that's why in the next time we will face the possibility of changing everything. So a crisis. Mm-hmm.
What would you say is the role of the younger generations that are coming on to the planet right now and stepping more into positions of leadership, are using their voices that are seeing the systems around them and are wanting to change. Where do you see these younger generations going, and even people that are being born into this crazy world right now? What do you think is their role?
Well, if they are older than 7 years old, so they are here to heal the trauma. So we are still living the trauma of all the generations that weren't able to say who they are. That's why everyone today is like in this constant conflict of what am I, who am I, what is my pronouns, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because we are still living the trauma of I don't know who I am, and it's not this generation that has that problem. It was all the previous generation that never questioned that. So they were just trying to be whatever the others wanted for them to be. And so right now it's these generations, for me, it's all about showing up to say we are traumatized and this is our conflict, and we now are able to talk about it, because before we were trying to survive. So because we were trying to eat and survive and fight for our lives, we didn't have the time to ask ourselves who we are. But now all those traumas of thousands of years of things that have been hidden from humanity are being asked. So the generations today, they are just showing all the traumas that have been locked for a long time. And if you are under 7 years old, those are the actual people that will be able to really transform the system, because they are not still that into the system. So they have the chance to live in a completely different situation, because today we are still very related to the old system, and we need at least 2 more generations of people that that they know that we don't need that system. So that's why the kids under 7 years old, they will be born in a context that is already open to AI, to technology, that is not something new, that is something common. So that's why they will be able to look for another solution, another answer that is not a trauma.
Because you've also said that the foundation of change is not education, but the economy. What did you mean by that?
They are both very connected. Economy is the heart of the system. Economy is not money, actually, even if we took that term as that. But economy means oikos nomos, which is everything that is related at home, everything that is organized inside a house. So that would be economy. So how do you organize your home, what you are, what you have around? So economy is also feng shui. Where do you put your furniture? Where do you put the plant? That's also economy. Economy, it's also the decision of, I don't want to hear this type of music at home. I don't want to see this type of news at home. I just want for this to happen in my house, or these people to come in, or these people not to come in. That's economy too.
Our food as well, what we put in our body.
What do we eat? What do we feel? That's also economy, because it's exchange of energy. So it's not just money. It's about how I decide to live my life and how do I organize the environment where I live. And I think that is very, very important before anything, because it determines what I am going to give to the world, which is education. So education is not school. School, skole, which is the origin of education, means military service in the Greek. Yeah. So it means that when you go to school, you are going to be prepared to be useful for a government that might need you for a war or for any conflict. Okay. So that's skole. So basically, you are brainwashed to be useful. That's a school. So when you have free economy, it's not about doing like buy, sell, this kind of things. Free economy is basically the freedom to choose what comes in me, what goes out from me. And when I know what do I want in my life, when I learn what I want in my life, in my home, and how can I organize the aspects of my life, which is economy, then with all of that, I can take from within something that I can give to the world. And that's the word educo, which means in Latin means to take what is within outside. From home, from my heart, from my body, or from my house, or from my space that is now organized, now I can give to the world. That's education. And education is about sharing. So it's about sitting in a group of people and saying, I have this problem. And a lot of people saying, okay, maybe we can solve it this way, this way, this way. That's education. The other thing is schooling, which is you have to learn this, you have to give me a 10, that's schooling or teaching. Education is sharing and saying, I have this conflict emotionally, physically, economically, whatever. I have this problem. How can I solve it? So a group of people get together and decide and talk about it, how to solve it. That's the process of real learning. But you cannot share unless you are organized in your economy. So that's why I say the first thing to think about is, what do you let in your life? Because that's what it's going to go out.
Wow, that is so powerful, because when you say like when we're in free economy, we get autonomy and control over what goes out of us. And a lot of us are maybe placed into jobs that were created by this military system that are giving us output, and we are spending hours and hours and hours of our day outputting into this economy that maybe is no longer serving us. And what you're saying about this new perspective on economy is we get to control what we create, which I think a lot of younger people are beginning to realize that, you know, for example, I'm doing this podcast out of my own free will, my own choice, because that's what I want to come out of me. And where do you see the new systems of monetary compensation around that? Because, you know, I could say I just want to sit down and draw elephants all day because that's what wants to come out of me. Where do you see, you know, the monetary compensation, or even is that in the future cards of our systems? Yeah, I guess where would you unpack that?
When you put your thing in service, one thing is to draw because you like it. Another thing is to draw because someone needs it. And when someone needs it, is because there is economical compensation for it. And we have a lot of conflicts with economy. We all do, because of cultural beliefs. We all believe that money is evil, and money is not evil. Money is money, and it's just a piece of paper or a piece of bits in a computer. Money is not the problem. What actually is the problem is that we don't know how to economize ourselves. We don't know how to live in peace with our own selves. anything that you have within you can be useful for someone, and when you share it with someone, can create economy for you. It's just that we have been so conditioned to believe that you cannot charge money or receive wealth by doing what you love, because it's not effort, because it's not a hard job, because it's not producing something, you are just enjoying it. So if you're enjoying it, it's a hobby that you have to do for free. And that's not how it works. That's not how it is. That's a misunderstanding on how the real economy works, which is exchange of energy. Because if I am sharing, I don't know, like if I what I do, which is to share my story, to share my thoughts, it's basically philosophy. Is nothing more than philosophy, and maybe you can always say, well, that's your hobby because you're just doing philosophy, so how can you charge because thinking, like how can you charge because of thinking? And even though a lot of people pays me because of my thoughts, but it's not but I wouldn't be able to be here sitting with you, sharing this with you, if someone else didn't pay me for me to be here with this hour for free to be able to share this message. So why? Because in order for me to be here, I need food, I need light, I need a computer, and all of that is matter. Then you need to exchange energy for it. So sometimes we don't think that even talking, it's a whole waste of energy that then needs to be repaired by eating and drinking water that you have to buy or to get from someone or from somewhere that did a hard job on cultivating it, on producing it, on cooking it, so it's all an exchange of energy, and we humans created a way of physically exchange that energy through something called money. Because now we cannot live in families or communities that everyone shares something, but now we are all spread in the world, so we need something that creates trust in between people that don't know each other, and that's why we created money. So because now we trust the paper more than the people, so that's why we give so much value to the paper or to the coin than the person in the other side. So that's what is missing, actually, the trust on the other person. We created the money because we didn't trust the persons because we don't know them. Of course, if I go to somewhere right now to get a coffee and say, trust me, I will pay you next month, they will say, I don't know you. I don't know if you're going to pay next month. And it costs me money and effort and energy to wake up at 6 a.m. to bring the coffee here, to do it. So it's a whole chain of things. And when it's about philosophy, about spirituality, about all these things, we confuse that term with what religion put us in our head, which was the kingdom of heaven is of the poor. And the reason why they did that is in order for the Roman Empire to have control over the population. And that's what the Vatican kept on doing. And that's what every system kept on doing. And that's what the governments kept on doing, on telling people, you don't need much to survive. You don't need this, you don't need that. We can have it. We will administrate it for you because you don't know how to do it. And the reason why we don't know how to do it is because we are giving the power to someone else to do it. And we never learn how to do it ourselves. And as a solution to that, we tend to go to the communism, or tend to go to say, maybe we should we should all have that power, and we should all administrate that. And as we see, even in communism, they needed money, but it was the government having the money, you know. So now in the capitalism, is the companies having the money. So it's always someone else having the money or having the resources, and it's just because the system is tied for us to believe that economy is about papers and coins, and who has them, and it's not about that. And that's why a lot of spiritual people, they don't want to charge, they don't want to do things for money, they don't want to do these things because, oh, it's a service I give to humanity. For example, a service is also when someone comes and fix something in your house. They do a service. When they sell you something, they are doing a service. So it's all about service. Service doesn't have to be free. Service is to give what you have, but you have to give to get energy for that to be compensated, so you can keep on doing that. Otherwise, you have to do something else. You know, but that is part of the real economy, which is the inner power, which is the inner administration, which is the inner organization of my home. It all depends on that. That's the reorganization of the economy.
It's all about empowerment too. And, you know, I had the opportunity to read the beautiful letter that you wrote to the Pope Francis a couple years back. And, you know, one thing really stood out to me where you said, I'm going to just read it. It says, the proposal is that at some point, without fear, but with love, the human history that lies beneath the Vatican could be offered, archives that hide our light and that I know they have kept for our own good, but that in this is a new time. We need to recognize who we are, close a story in love, and transcend to a new reality, recognizing ourselves for who we are. Those are big words, man. That's touching stuff right there. And I just wanted to ask you, what do you think is that information that is ready for it to come out to the light in order for us to close this story in love?
Well, there's a lot of things that humans have discovered along life, along history, that have been burned or kept because they were scared for people to know. But I think people are ready to know many of those things, even if they are useless now. It's nice to know the truth, to know other parts of the story, or to know some things that were so important for us, that now it's all like hidden and people is trying to discover them, but actually it's all written there. Someone wrote about it, someone got it, and the only one that was able to get all this information was the Vatican. That's why they have it all in the library beneath the Vatican City. There is a lot of things that maybe won't change our history today, but they will change our relationship with the past. And there are many things that the Vatican, the Church, did to us in order to, for one side, to protect us, and in the other side to control us, that I think if they with love give to the people what the people are asking, that's a huge act of actual Christianism. Yeah, like actual trust in the brothers and sisters, and a leap of faith on knowing that humanity is going to connect with God in a different way, as they tried to do 2,000 years ago. And I think that that will open the doors for us to start healing the history, and stop blaming the old system. Because one of the main things that doesn't allow us to move forward is that people that is awakening is blaming the old system. And it's like, when you have a trauma with your dad, for example, and you blame your dad because of what you are living today. You won't move forward until you heal that relationship with your dad, knowing that your dad in that moment didn't have the tools to understand what you needed, because that's all they got. They had no idea how to do it. So you start this healing process of your own, in which you find yourself saying, I forgive you, because I know that you had no idea what you were doing. And you come back to that sentence of Jesus that once said, forgive them, Father, because they don't know what they're doing. And you cannot be conscious enough if you don't go back to that specific sentence, which is, I forgive the church because they had no idea what they were doing. I forgive religion because they had no idea what they were doing. They were just using the tools that they had in that time. So what I wrote to the Pope is, I think that a lot of people is ready to forgive, but we need a leap of faith in us from you to say, we will open our doors to change that story. Yeah.
What's one thing about society that you feel that you've had to forgive the most?
What would that be? Well, I actually faith is one of the things that I usually struggle the most, and I try to forgive, because faith for me is something that that took us to just follow blindly so many things that we didn't question, and we have to question. The question is good for evolution. We have to wonder, to question, and not follow blindly something. Like I always, in the path of the I am, 2 years ago, 4 years ago actually, when I was in Egypt, every day, I would say to people, now, after I explain this, go Google, read, search for other people that explains this in a different way, but don't keep just with what I'm saying. Just keep looking, because if you just believe what I am saying, that becomes faith. And for me, faith is a trap, is something that keeps you trapped in a system. So I had to forgive the system of faith many times, and still trying, because when you have the ability to remember history, not because you study it, but because you lived it, and you remember the emotion of being there sometimes, you can see how, because of faith, humans have done terrible things, and just because we didn't question.
What does humanity need the most right now, going into this Aquarian age?
Well, I would say today we are going to a very technological age, and which means that transformation will be a common sense for every day from now on. So something we struggle with is change. And I think that one of the main things that we need to learn is to let go, in many ways, many senses. To let go emotionally, physically, mentally, to let go many things, because we get attached to things very easily. So yeah, learn to let go.
Yeah, because I think when you brought up about the asteroid, when you brought up about the Third World War, that might have woken a lot of people up to what is actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
But then how would you advise someone to move forward having that insight from you? Where would you sort of help people understand that, yes, we are at these catastrophic times, but at the same time, we are heading into the galactic summer, which you've also called it.
Well, we have to, sometimes looking backwards helps a lot. We have gone through 2 world wars already in less than 50 years. And those 2 wars were terrible, affected many places, many countries, continents. But here we are. And here we are even better because we have more technology, we have many things. So what I would say to everyone that is concerned about what is happening or what could happen is to remember this, that every time that a huge conflict happened in humanity, there was a huge leap of transformation. And those who transformed everything were those who didn't saw the conflict as the end, but as a beginning, as a choice, as an option of saying, now it's our time to do something different. So everything that we have today was because of those 2 wars. And we wouldn't have had this technology, freedom of speech, and all these crazy things that we have today that we give for granted. Because I don't know why and when we give for granted all the things that we have today. And we are all the time blaming, this is terrible. But take a look 100 years ago. 100 years ago, there's still people alive that have lived terrible things in a time that we even have slavery, like 60, 70 years ago, like slavery. So compared to the whole entire human existence, it was those conflicts, the First World War and the Second World War, that made us think we have to do it different. So I would advise everyone to be those who think, what could we do different? Instead of thinking, what could we do to stop it? Yeah.
Not resist the change. And Matias, we end off every show with a segment called the Final Trio, which are a couple of personalized questions to you and a question that we ask at the end of every show. Before that, you have many exciting new projects that you are crafting right now, and I'd love to give you the space to talk a little bit about them. And where would you send people to connect with you further?
Well, we are, of course, trying to shape the best way to make everyone a part of it. I divided the project in 3. One for the spirit, the other one for the soul, the other one for the body. The one for the spirit is the network, the connection between all the parts. And that means we are trying to create an app that could connect everyone that is working for all of these changes, and everyone that wants to connect to each other. An app that would connect all the spirits that are trying to do something. So we are developing that with our foundation. Then we are for the soul, we are trying to create content and designing some movies and documentaries that would share the spirit and the stories and how to get connected to all this information. And the third one is to start manifesting places, physical places where people could go to practice, to learn, to share all this hero journey that we live within, so we can manifest it without. So those are the three things that are under the name of the I Am, so the YO SOY project. And you can search and read about it in the blog, which is yosoy.red. Red, like the color in English, but actually means network in Spanish. So it's the I Am network. Yeah, yosoy.red.
You're just getting started, brother. And you've already done so much.
Yeah.
Do you have a next? I know your guides are always telling you sort of where to go next, what mission is unfolding. Is there something right now? I know you're right now in your home in the US, but like, do you have anything upcoming that your guides are helping call you forth to that?
Well, this year, what we are doing is we are gathering online, basically, because of every solstice and equinox, because we are delivering these crystals around the planet in the main portals. So you can read about it also. We posted about it, and it's also there in the blog. I wrote about it. So you have there the explanation of the task that we are doing in 2024, which is delivering these crystals in the main portals of the planet. And there's the information also of why these crystals, when they were charged of the information and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. You also talk about that in your series in Gaia, so we'll link all of that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Brother, this has been a ride of a conversation, and I really hope we get to continue to do this and develop our friendship. For the final trio, the first question that I had for you is, for someone that can remember that all of these different things, and for me, in my eyes, you live in magic every day. And by someone that maybe lives in magic every day, they can sometimes forget that they're living in magic. So how do you remember your magic every day?
I try to think everything as a child. Like whenever something incredible happens and magical happens, I usually share it with my friends. Like, you have no idea what happened. Like if I wouldn't know that can happen. And that emotion of not acting like if it's normal and natural, even if I know that is how it should happen, the emotion of the discovery, like a child, it keeps you living the magic in a very amazing way.
That's the medicine I take every day for this podcast, because for speaking to people like you and doing this on a daily basis, sometimes I have to be like, wait, hold up. See this through awe, see this through curiosity. Don't go through the motions. Realize how much of a gift this really is. So thank you for that reminder. And the second question I had in the final trio is, what is one past life memory that has left the greatest mark on you today?
Well, of course, that everything that I'm living today is because of one specific memory that was me as a woman and my husband aside me in front of the red lion, which is the Sphinx, um, saying, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I don't know how to do it. And my husband saying, it doesn't matter when and how, I will be there to help you do it. And that moment of, I don't know what I'm being called to, I have no idea what am I supposed to do. That emotional moment was so powerful that shaped all my life today, which is finding him again and doing all the things with him again, and all these projects and everything, and trying to figure out how to do it. So every time that I'm doing this is like I come back to that specific moment in that life.
When you met them in this life, what was that experience like?
Oh, it was crazy because I knew it was him, even if his body is different. And it took me years to get rid of the emotion of the past, so we could actually work and do stuff together. And yeah, it took years for him to realize many things in order to be able to actually step forward on do what we do. So yeah, it's been like that since 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's that love that connected those souls initially that brought you together back in this life.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's another thing for people to sit with is, once love is there, love doesn't end. It gets transmuted.
Yeah.
It finds its way back. So Thank you.
And it's just love. It doesn't have to be the typical movie couple love, because now it's a brotherhood. So
it's that Buddha love.
Yeah. It's totally different. Yeah.
That pure love, that Buddha love. Brother, this final question we ask at the end of every podcast, it's called the time capsule question. And it requires us to travel out into the future around 15 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. I chose those time frames because I believe that is going to be a time where the younger generations are going to be stepping more into leadership positions around the world. And when they reach these positions, they're going to need a lot of guidance, some wisdom, some tools, resources. And you were given the opportunity to have your own time capsule that you would leave behind for these leaders. And you can put anything that you want inside of this time capsule. It doesn't have to be anything material. It could be a teaching, a transmission. It could be a book. It could be anything beyond your wildest imagination, and your imagination is already pretty wild. So I'm really excited to get your answer on this one. But what would you leave behind inside of this time capsule to help these young leaders stepping more into their responsibility, lead humanity into this new earth?
I think, as I said during 2020, all the path leads to the I am. And I would say I would just give that remembrance of go back to the I am. And I am is not someone. I am is a subject and a verb, is a particle and a frequency, a wave. So go back to the point where those two things create everything. Go back to the I am. Always.
And yeah, thank you. And on top of the time capsule, there is your name on it in a gold plate, and you can etch in a question that you would leave behind for these leaders. What would you ask them?
Who are you?
Who are you? And yeah, the next week we're having Robert Grant on the podcast again, and I know you two have a special connection. Is there any question, I thought of this while I was doing the research. Is there any question that you would have for him that you would want me to bring through in that show?
Yeah. What is 2 plus 2?
he will get into the quantum answer to that.
I know, that's why.
I'll ask him. Matias, hermano del alma, gracias for your wisdom, for your service. Meeting you in itself was a beautiful experience. So I hope to continue weaving together and creating together. You are a gift to humanity, and I love and appreciate everything that you're doing and being in the world. Gracias.
Thank you very much for your space and for sharing not only the space, but so many laughters and moments and friendship there that started in Egypt.
Así es, hermano. Ajo.
Oh.